Hey everybody, this is John MMA Fight Club. I've got an incredible treat for all you guys out there. Let me tell you who we've got as our guest host for April. We're talking about a 7-time national champion for both motocross and supercross. We're talking about Pro 4 Torque Off-Road champion and Red Bull athlete Ricky Johnson. How you doing, Ricky?
Doing awesome. Thanks for having me on Big John's MMA. I'm really excited. You guys got some awesome fights coming up, and I've been a fight fan. Let me tell you, since the beginning. I missed UFC 1, didn't know how to find it. Studied some jiu-jitsu and boxing, wrestled a little bit back to help my racing. I just felt that the mixed martial arts would help me as far as confidence when I line up next to the guys, and also just the strategy. I feel that motocross and MMA are very close when it comes to how you attack your opponent. Meaning, when you're racing a motorcycle, you're dealing with fear of getting hurt, fear of getting tired, but the biggest fear of just losing. And when it comes to MMA, you're out there, you're doing everything that you can to beat the guy down and that you're working with, but you can't give him too many tools. You can't expose your arms, you can't expose your neck, you can't stick your chin out there because you're going to get it knocked off. So as far as a sport, mixed martial arts is number one in my book.
You know, it's funny you say that, Rick. I was going to ask you almost what you already answered. That a lot of your fans out there they perceive you as the guy that goes out there and just attacks that course, man, and just goes after it for everything you've got. So it's really kind of funny that you mentioned that it is similar. We're talking both extreme sports. I mean, obviously you've been in sports all of your life. I mean, when did you take down your first championship, man? How old were you?
I took down an 80cc expert championship when I was 11 years old. Started racing when I was 9, and then from there turned professional on a 125 at 13. They wouldn't allow me to race the professional ranks until I was 16 years old. And that's when I started traveling around the nation. Got Rookie of the Year, won the last national moto of the year that year, and then in 1984 won my first national championship for Yamaha in the 250 outdoors class.
That's awesome. And, of course, you were the bad boy of motocross and supercross for quite some time. But I want to ask you a couple things about what you're doing now. This is your chance to tell everybody who maybe hasn't been keeping up with what's going on. You're a champion to this day. I mean, you're the current Pro 4 Torque Series championship, correct?
Yeah, I am. It's awesome because I'm 48 years old. I feel that as far as a driver and a racer, I'm the best racer that I've ever been. But unfortunately for guys like Randy Couture or some of the older fighters, Tito Ortiz and stuff that have been around for years, it doesn't change. Their sport doesn't change as much as ours does. You know, we have a saying, it's kind of a joke, but with age comes a cage, because you know, your body, when you get older, you just can't take the beating. You can't put the training together like you used to. You know, my wrist is fused; it doesn't move. That's as far back and that's as far forward as it moves. I still ride and train a lot of guys, do some stuff with the military special forces, and love riding motorcycles. But I can only go at like a light sparring session, you know,
Yeah.
to make a fighter reference. And if I try to go hard, I end up down on the ground. I end up hurt, and my body just can't take it. But when you put a roll cage around me and 800 horsepower underneath me, I feel like I'm a 22-year-old kid again. So I can go out there and race for Red Bull and give them 100%, and I can take on anybody from 18 to 20 to 30 to 40. I don't care how old you are or how long you've been racing. I'll throw down with you, as long as I got that cage. So it would be like fighters evolving to kind of knights in shining armor with armor and swords and tools to get their job done, rather than just their body. But unfortunately for fighters, that hasn't come.
Wow. Well, yeah, and you know, I've been fortunate enough to be at a lot of your races, and I got to tell everybody out there, if you haven't watched Ricky race, you know, in the last couple of years, you got to get out there and see it, man, because it is amazing. You attack the course just like you were a 22-year-old, man. It's pretty amazing. It's fun to watch.
Well, I've made this reference a long time, and like I said, I've been watching stuff all the way back with the early Gracie fights, and Zulu back in the day, and just trying to find it, because you couldn't find them before, because a lot of people, you know, were labeling it as like human cockfights and stuff like that. So a lot of times you couldn't find the fights on TV. You had to find them on videos or DVDs, sometimes beta or VHS, back in the day. But it was it was hard to find fights, and I loved watching it because once you've trained and once you've put yourself, kind of at the end of your rope, and you're trying to decide, well, I'm changing my game from trying to beat this guy to survive to all these things. If you've experienced that, then you've experienced a taste of what these guys go through, and the art of fighting is so much better than it was before. I mean,
Oh yeah.
how effective they are with. They're all complete fighters, and some are coming from wrestling, some from karate, some from, some from jiu-jitsu backgrounds and stuff like that. But what makes the best fighter? And it's in any given night, they're all so good. Any one punch, any one kick can take a champion out. So
Yep.
it's one of those things, man. That it's the real deal when it comes to sports. There really is no other.
Yep. Yep. And come to speak of it, I mean, that's why we made this app. I mean, the one, like you said, one punch, one slip, I mean, you can take a champion down. And so now we're going to put you on the spot, and I'm going to start asking you about who you think is going to win all these awesome bouts that are coming up in April. April has some amazing fights coming up. We've got Bellator, we've got Invicta, which is the girls. Man, these are some tough girls, and they're fun to watch. And then, of course, we've got several awesome UFC cards. So for all of you guys out there that are watching this video, I want you to know that you get a chance to come in and see how you can out-predict Ricky. Rick, how do you think you're going to do in your predictions?
Well, I think I'm going to do pretty good. I have some decent strategies when I watch the UFCs. My wife and I always joke about, I let her pick a winner and we go back and forth. But as far as strategy, I think that racing is very similar. Do I think I'm a UFC fighter or a mixed martial artist? No. Have I taken some sparring classes? Have I taken some jiu-jitsu classes? I'm good friends with Chris Brennan, who used to be the King of the Cage middleweight champion. I've sparred with him. I've had him, move my jaw out of location a little bit, bloody my nose and stuff like that, which, he was going at 2%. But I watch the fights and I study them very closely. I watch the guys that are their advantages, their disadvantages, the mental game, because that's where I think I have an insight to where a lot of people that, even though they're great fight fans, I've been to wit's end. I've been at the top of my game and I've been knocked down from the top of my game. I've had to fight my way back. And I've also had to come to a point when I had to walk away from my career. So I think that me as an athlete, even though I'm not a fighter, have a little bit more insight than some of these guys to what it takes to win and lose, because I've won some and I've lost a bunch.
Well, those are the words I want to hear, man. So that's kind of a challenge to all you guys out there. See if you can out-predict Ricky, because we're about to lock in those predictions and set them up in the app. So everybody out there, I want you to know Ricky Johnson is our guest host for the month of April, and we're going to get these things started right now. Ricky, thanks again. Let's get to those predictions.